You haven't made granola if you're not snacking the whole time. We're gonna make granola, start to finish. First thing is to turn the oven on. While the oven preheats super loudly, we're gonna mix together our wet ingredients. Starts with brown sugar. Then we add some fancy olive oil. It's not that fancy. Some honey. Last but not least, salt. We're gonna mix it up just a little bit, put it on the stove, and cook it on like a low simmer until it's bubbly and most of the brown sugar is dissolved. Now for the dry ingredients, I put everything into one bowl. Starts with oats. And then coconut flakes. I think these are technically called coconut chips because they're like the thick boys. This kind. I linked some in my Amazon storefront if you want any. Cashews and pistachios. You can really use whatever nut you want. I've used pepitas, which are really delicious. You could use pecans. It is truly up to you. I'm going to mix this dry mixture with gloved hands or else it just feels kind of gross. You don't actually have to use gloves if it hasn't been cooked yet. But first I'm gonna make a mess, and then I'm gonna put cherries into this bowl because cherries will go on after the granola is baked because I've never baked the cherries. So this is before mixing. This is gonna get mixed more later once we add the wet ingredients. So over the years, I've made a lot of changes to this granola just based on what I was looking for with it. But it is based very loosely off of a recipe from a bakery I used to work at. And just for you, I linked that in my link in bio thing. So go check it out if you want to make this granola and not make 12 quarts or 3 sheet trays. It's like a normal sized recipe. Once the liquids get all bubbly like that, that's how I typically know that most of the brown sugar is dissolved. And the 2 times that you saw me stir the granola, that was the only times that I stirred the granola. You don't want the sugar to seize. You don't want it to get all crystallized. I basically just don't stir it at all. I like to mix this with a spoon until it looks almost all the way mixed, and then I put on gloves and do it with my hands because there's always something stuck to the bottom that's not quite wet yet. Everything looks nice and mixed. This is gonna go onto 3 separate sheet trays. I like to use a Silpat, just any silicone mat will work. You can use parchment paper depending on how like small the batch you're making, but I feel like it gets too sticky and sometimes the parchment paper rips and then you have paper in your granola, which nobody wants. Been 10 minutes and all we're gonna do is mix this up. I like to use a metal bench scraper. You could use a metal spoon, a wooden spoon, whatever you got really. But you just want to stir this up so that everything is really nice and coated and evenly distributed so you don't have to stir it later, and that's how you get chunky granola. Here's our beautiful granola. I'm gonna put the cherries on top while it's still hot. And then I'm not gonna touch it until it's completely cool. And then I can break it up into some gigantic chunks and it'll be fucking delicious.